The fear of death, how to not panic about it. Thanatophobia is commonly referred to as the fear of death. More specifically, it can be a fear of death or a fear of the dying process. It's natural for someone to worry about their own health as they age. It's also common for someone to worry about their friends and family after they're gone. However, in some people, these concerns can develop into more problematic worries and fears. The signs and symptoms of thanatophobia include anxiety, dread, distress, and treatment focuses on learning to refocus the fears, talking about your feelings and concerns. An exposition of Spinoza's views of the cause and cure of death. He holds death to be disruption of mind and body, which need not involve becoming a corpse. Amnesia counts. It follows that his criterion of personal identity includes memory, so Spinozistic immortality is impersonal. The cause of death is always something external, for nothing can destroy itself. This principle, however, is not universally true. Spinoza has led to it by mistaken physics. Suicide is irrational. Fear of death is to be overcome by realization that since adequate ideas are eternal, to the extent that they constitute our minds, we are eternal also. At first sight, the motive of death in Spinoza's philosophy does not seem to be very important and interesting. Spinoza does not deal explicitly with this motive. In his main work, Ethica Ordine Geometrico Demonstrata, the motive of death is only marginal. Why then this theme? Nevertheless, the reasons for an inquiry of this theme can be found very easily. First of all, Spinoza's philosophy is an eternal doctrine of the right human way to liberty, happiness, and bliss. In Spinoza, liberty, happiness, and bliss are three dimensions of the ultimate end of human life. With respect to this end, death would be considered as a very serious or even insuperable hindrance. In our everyday experience, dying and death are given in a very pressing way, and this concerns all living beings and primarily ourselves. Spinoza, as a philosopher who examines the human way to liberty, happiness, and bliss, cannot therefore leave out these problems. Moreover, the question of dying and death is also connected very closely with the ethical problem of good and evil. In his Ethica, Spinoza looks into this problem very carefully, and this is why I think that in the framework of these considerations, it is possible to grasp the basic features of Spinoza's treatment of the question of death. There are two main responses to the question of fear of death. First, some people follow the ancient philosopher Epicurus in thinking that death is not bad for us and that we, therefore, should not fear death. Epicurus argued that death is not prudentially bad for us because as long as we exist, death is not with us. But when death comes, then we do not exist. And the ancient philosopher Lucretius later added that both sides of our lives are filled with non-existence, and since we do not fear the eternity before we are born, we have correspondingly little reason to fear death. The second reason is offered by the majority of contemporary philosophers working on death. They disagree with Epicurus and Lucretius. Instead, these philosophers believe that death is somehow bad for the individual who dies. According to the Deprivation account of the badness of death, death is bad in virtue of depriving the individual of a future life worth having. Most notably, Thomas Nagel argued that death can be bad for those who die when and because it deprives them of the good life they could have had if they had continued to live. This usually means that death is worse the earlier it occurs. That is to say, the death of younger individuals is considered worse than the death of older citizens. This line of thinking is also reflected in a willingness to prioritize saving young lives over old ones in times of scarcity, as well as how deaths are evaluated in global health today. Social support networks may help to protect a person against death anxiety. Some people may come to terms with death through religious beliefs, though these may perpetuate a fear of death in others. Treatment options for death anxiety include cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, works by gently altering a person's behavioral patterns so that they can form new behaviors and ways of thinking. Psychotherapy, exposure therapy, medication, relaxation techniques. While it is natural to have concerns about the future and the future of loved ones, if the anxiety around death persists for more than 6 months or hinders daily life, it may be worth someone speaking to a doctor. There are many ways that a person can overcome their fear of death, and a mental health professional will be able to offer guidance and reassurance during this process. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to stay informed about our upcoming videos because more incredible content is on the way.